Salutations, one and all, and welcome to Revitalise Meets. This is the opportunity that I get to meet some fabulous business connections, not just locally, but globally, delving into questions to find out about their business, their journey, their challenges, their achievements, and much, much more. And today, this month, I've got the great pleasure to be with a lady who's got over 10 years' experience in the holiday let industry. She's a holiday let expert. She's a podcaster. She's a coach and consultant, and she talks all things about holiday lets. And just add an extra little feather into the cap there as well. She's a best-selling author to go to tat as well. So can you please join me in welcoming Jane Mack? Jane, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you, Lee. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
Oh, you're more than welcome. More than welcome. Thanks for joining us today on LinkedIn. Now we are on LinkedIn Live. So if you are watching this with a cuppa by your side, please feel free to drop any comments into the comment boxes as well. And I'll just remind people on about that as we go through as well. Jim, can we start first of all, because I've learned a lot about you over the last few months, but would you mind sharing with everybody who's watching and listening today a little bit about your business journey so far, if you don't mind?
Absolutely, absolutely. So basically, my kind of entrepreneurship journey began back in 2010 when my husband and I decided to take a big change and we bought a business in property management. So it was property management for holiday let. So we looked after the homes because the owners, they obviously couldn't do it themselves, so we would be responsible for that. Looked after them, did all the maintenance, dealt with the guests, did all the changeovers. That's what we did. We actually did that over in the Isle of Arran. So we had to move from Glasgow to the Isle of Arran.
Beautiful.
Big jump, big change, but it was all very exciting and very nerve-wracking at the same time. So that's what we did. We started doing that and bought this business, and we just threw ourselves into property management, looking after these homes. And then sort of over the next sort of 18 months, there was a lot of talk about you should do the lettings, you should grow, you're going to do the lettings, you should do the lettings, please do the lettings. So we thought, you know what, everybody wants it, so we expanded it. So we brought it out and we then brought in all the actual lettings. So we did the advertising, we did the bookings, and we expanded the whole business. So basically pulled it up into an all-in-one holiday letting agency. So that was great, that was the plan, and we just kept going with it. It grew bigger than we thought because I thought, well, there's other people out there, sort of independent websites who are sort of offering the same service. And I just thought, if we get 10 or 15 houses, I'd be really happy with that. That's quite nice, quite ticking over. And then before we knew it, we were at over 50 houses. So it went really, really quickly. It also went more than what we expected. And we ended up actually getting approached by one of the UK's largest letting agencies, and they wanted to buy us. So that was never in the plan, never had ever planned to do that, because we would move to this island and we were settled in what we were doing. That was what we'd sort of planned to do. And here we were, it was all going great. But we ended up selling because at the time it was the right thing to do. So sort of 7 years on after we sold the business, we actually continued to work in the business for the company, continuing to run the local office the same way we had done, because that's what the owners knew, that's what the island needed, so we kept it the same. But after a few years, that company changed and different things changed, and I knew it was time for me to move on. Do you know what I mean? Things change, that nobody knows how things are going to move through the years, do they? So anyway, I decided, right, time for me to move on, and I was a bit like, oh, so what will I do? What will I do? And I kind of started in the world of social media because I've done a lot of training in that with the business to kind of know how it works and to run it for the business. So I went into sort of the world of social media and Facebook ads, and I was doing that, and I did courses on it, I did training on it and everything. And I realized I didn't actually like doing it. I liked all the training, I liked all the stuff behind it. I didn't physically like the doing of it. I'm like, oh, well, that's a bit rubbish then, isn't it? So I actually just thought, you know what? I've got all this experience in my holiday letting, I've got experience in running a business. That's what I'm going to offer people. And throughout my journey as well, I'd been a mum the whole time, so like with young children, like toddlers, newborn. So I sort of reached out to a lot of like mums in business to say, like, I can help you. I know what it's like to juggle, to get that balance and everything. So I started doing that and using all my expertise and knowledge from running the business. But there was always something missing, Lee. Always, always something. And it always came back to the holiday let industry every time. So I thought, you know what, just niche right back into it, because that is where, I suppose that's kind of where my passion lies. And I think having that sort of 10 years in that industry, like hands on, all hands on deck, feet in the ground, running it all, that is just that's what I knew and what I was really passionate about. And I could see lots of changes in the industry, obviously from COVID and how things were moving. And I was actually quite excited about the changes and how the industry was all coming back. So from that, I then decided to do what I'm doing now and niched right down into the consultancy and the coaching services for people in the holiday industry. Because I also did my coaching accreditation last year. So that meant I had these new skills that I could use to help people in a different way. So I've kind of brought all that in, and now doing it as a sort of coaching consultancy now for everyone.
It's interesting when you go through a certain stage of your time where you sort of move into a new area. We're not in a new area, but a new sort of surroundings, living wise. You
Yeah.
embrace it, and the way the life changes that, and you try multiple things, and then you niche down on what you're really expert into. And I think it takes you time to find that, doesn't it? Really, it makes it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think for so long people talk about, oh, you must niche, and you are, but sometimes you're scared to. You think, oh, but what about all these other people I could help, and what about all this stuff? But actually, when it comes down to it, it's actually easier to niche, because when you niche, you're kind of talking to one particular type of person. You're talking about one particular sort of thing, rather than trying to cover lots of different areas and aspects of a business and different things. You're just focusing on one thing. So actually it's so much easier. And it's easier to connect with people in that industry, because it's a specific industry, a specific type of person. So actually it's much easier once you make that brave move to niche. It's easier to actually manage as you go on, definitely.
I think a lot of business owners, when they just start off, and even when they're starting in networking spheres, where they start in their networking scene as such, they try to throw as much stuff out there as they can, but they cannot see the wood for the trees. It's just too much going on. And I think you're right, just really niching it right down. Thanks for sharing that. Heck of a journey moving from Glasgow, and I'm saying that with a Geordie accent, to Arran. So
I know, and I'm actually originally from Northern Ireland, so I've gone Northern Ireland, lived in Glasgow, now I'm on Arran. So we've stayed here because we're settled here, so we've just continued to stay here.
Arran's a lovely wee spot. They've got two wonderful, actually 3 distilleries, I think they've got in there now. So
Got 2 distilleries, yes, 2.
So over the years, then, with you moving the sort of moving the position of where you were to Arran, creating that business, going through that transitional period for your business as well, what's been the biggest challenge that you've had in the past few years? And did that turn into a biggest achievement for you?
And I'd say so my biggest challenge in the past few years, the biggest challenge has been to first of all, as I said, to kind of find what it is I want to do. Because obviously I'd gone from having this office in a local central location where people just walked in the door and they just said, hello, can I use your services? And what do you do? And it was, I didn't have to promote myself out there. So that in itself was a challenge of, what am I going to do? And how am I putting myself out there? Because the world had gone online, hadn't it? The world had just moved. Everybody was online, from 2020. And all of a sudden it was this whole new world of, I've got to operate in a completely different way. So that's been a huge challenge. There's a lot of learning in it, because when you go from having that sort of bricks and mortar business to total online, it's a completely different ballgame, completely different. So there has been a lot of, I've worked with some coaches. I've done different I've invested a lot in myself as well. I've invested a lot in some courses, coaches to help me get there and understand it. Because there's a bit of mindset, quite a bit of mindset piece in that as well, because it's a completely different way of working. So that was a big challenge, just getting to a point where I can understand what I need to do, where I need to be. I'd say out of that, the achievements come with that, the fact that I have actually niched down and found out what I really want to do. But I've also discovered kind of the areas that I like in terms of how I market my business and where I want to be. So, a year and a half ago or so, if anyone had told me that I would be running a podcast, I'd be like, absolutely no way. What would I talk about in a podcast? How could I possibly do a podcast? If anyone told me I would be a best-selling author of a book, I'd be like, are you kidding? I don't even like writing a social media post. How can I write a book? So those are big achievements that I have. The book I did was it was a book collaboration. So there was 21 of us in there, and it was a chapter each about to be honest, it could be about anything, but it was kind of about a journey or a challenge or something. So I did mine on my business journey and the challenges that jumped up throughout running the business and being a mum and young kids and all that stuff. And then, so it made best-selling. And I thought, oh my God, I hate even writing a social media post, but I've done a whole chapter on my life now in the book. So, and I think as well, the other challenge was putting yourself out there, but being visible is really hard because all of a sudden it's like it's your face out there. You've got to talk out there online. You've got to meet people. You've got to network. You've got to go to things, and you're going to things you don't know anybody, and you're going to have to put your big girl brave pants on to go into these things. So from a confidence side of thing as well, that's been a big achievement because I am not shy about being online now. It doesn't bother me doing lives and interviews and podcasts and stuff, but I've worked on that. So that's a big achievement from where I was, the last couple of years ago. So
It's
yeah.
interesting to say about the challenge there, and a lot of people talk about this quite a lot in the coaching scene as well. Is that you're feeling uncomfortable being comfortable?
Yeah.
You have to push yourself through that uncomfortable stage of your business to actually transfer into feeling comfortable about it, sort of thing. And I bet you any money writing that chapter took a lot of really digging deep to really bring it together. Yeah.
Oh my God, there were so many times. And at first I thought, oh, I don't know what I'm going to write. What am I actually going to write? But as I started to go and then all the stuff started coming out and just you start to remember things. I was like, oh God, there's that. Then there was that. And all this stuff was coming out. And I thought, well, I can't write that. I thought, well, why can't I write that? That's what happened. I'm not lying. It's just that's what happened. And that's how I felt. So actually, it was a bit like, ooh, right, okay, I'm going to write it. I'm going to put it out there. And what happened? No, the world did not fall apart. My world did not fall apart because I wrote about it. Do you know what I mean? It was actually quite a relief. And actually, what it brought about was actually realizing, oh, I've gone through all this stuff. I can actually help other people with this sort of stuff as well. And in my own, in my business. So actually, it brought out a lot of good stuff. But yeah, you got to go through that little bit of uncomfortable bit of, oh, do I really want to say this? Because you think, my friends and family are going to read this, and people are going to read it. And they might not have known that I felt like that or that was happening. And people have said to me, oh, I never knew that happened. And I'm like, well, it did, and I don't feel bad about it now. I'm like, that was reality. Because I think when you're in your business and you're doing stuff or whatever's happening, you don't sit and tell everybody all the details are going on all the time. So people just see how's things, yeah, things are great. And they don't know all the ins and outs until you put it in a book and then they all read about it and go, oh, I never knew that happened. But it's quite relieving. It's quite refreshing to actually be able to put out there and do it. That's quite good.
Yeah. It's a bit like being a duck, isn't it, really? The sea, you're going across the water, solid, straight, no interference, nothing, no, but your legs are going 50 to the dozen underneath.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is the business owner in general. So,
yeah.
So congratulations on achieving those, overcoming those challenges to turn into an achievement with a book and various other areas as well, and especially the book and collaboration. Everybody search for it, you'll find it. We talked about adapting your business, and what we talked about there briefly was that transferring from the in-person bricks and mortar to an online sort of scene.
Yeah.
Was that the biggest adaptation you did to your business in the past 18 to 24 months, or was there anything else you had to adapt yourself to?
I think the biggest thing I've had to adapt to was kind of the niching down that bit, because the sort of being visible part was kind of ongoing all the time, because you need to, you work on that while you're growing your business or while you're starting another part of the business. But I think the biggest thing I realized was out there in the online world, but when I was already doing kind of coaching, consulting for mums and business and that sort of side of things, I realized that, the online world's really, really busy. So I realized that, either I have this amazing product service out there that I can actually showcase and put out, which is very hard at the new business because you don't have all the, you don't have all the testimonials yet, and you don't have all this, evidence and experience as you're growing it. But that's where another reason I realized, but I've got all this experience and knowledge in my niche. And that was probably the biggest thing I've done. I've kind of gone full circle. And that's when I adapted, I adapted me into the fact of actually, if I niche down, there's where I can pull out all this experience and I can actually be known in my field because I've already been in that field. And I think having that, I suppose, brave step to actually take that niche down and to be able to do it has been quite a big way I've adapted. And anyone that I've sort of worked with over the last 2 years and people in coaching cohorts and things that I've been in, I'm still really connected with. Everyone will say, my God, that's a full circle you've gone in, but it's the right way, because that's kind of where I suppose I should have been 2 years ago, but I didn't know it at the time, so I think that's the biggest thing that I've allowed myself to actually take that step and do it. And quite often people don't allow themselves. It's a bit of a, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, but you kind of got to go your gut and you got to go with where it's right.
And you've got to try things as well. I think if we could look back in hindsight's a great word. If we look back in hindsight and spoke to ourselves back in those early days, A good question, actually. What would you say to yourself? It's just that would be the niche thing. It would be like,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, like when I look back about a couple of years ago, when I sort of started putting myself out there in my new business, I think the difference is back then, probably what I was doing then was very much, yes, I could use the experience of my holiday letting experience and do all that. But what I didn't have was all the stuff I've gained over the last 2 years. So over the last 2 years, I've gained that whole way of a lot of mindset work, which helps in every business, no matter where you are. I've learned a lot, like obviously the coaching skills. I've learned a lot about the visibility, the online world. I've learned a lot about how you can market yourself, market your business. But these are things that I didn't know 2 years ago. So, the difference is I still got all my holiday let experience I've always had and knowledge, but I've gained all this other stuff. And that is kind of an add on into the business that can then, it kind of really enhances what I can offer now. So, although I think, yeah, it'd been lovely 2 years ago, I should have stuck to what I was at because I feel like I'm starting from scratch again because you've kind of re-niched. But at the same time, I'm bringing so much more with it than I would have had 2 years ago.
not just that, though, you bring in people's experiences with you as well as the
Mhm.
individuals that you've met in that time.
Yeah.
That's galvanized, given a wealth of knowledge, the
Mhm.
experiences came together. People forget about that so much, what we do in general when
Mhm.
we're networking for business, which is what you've done,
Yeah.
and then identifying where your key points are. And it's the people that have actually helped you along that line, which actually give you more knowledge and experience and
Yeah.
really narrows it right down as well. So
Mhm.
thanks for sharing that. Really appreciate it. The next part for me, I like to ask all my guests is the golden top 3 tips of knowledge and expertise. So, what would be your golden top 3 tips to people out there who are budding holiday let entrepreneurs
Mhm.
who are just on the start of their journey? What would you share with them?
Um, Obviously, I could actually write a book on this as well, but anyway, that's for another day. 3 tips. I would say
Well,
firstly, I would say definitely keep focused on your own business and stop looking at what everybody else is doing, because when you keep looking at everybody else, that's when you don't move forward in your business, and you think you have to do the same as everyone else, and you think you have to be the same as everybody else, but you can't, because you can't keep comparing to everyone, and that's where that whole comparisonitis kicks in, and we actually tend up actually going backwards rather than forwards. I think it's important to stick to what you know in your business and just stay in your own lane, as they say, and focus on what you know and what you can do, and keep working on that. And because your business is going to continue to evolve and grow, but stick to what you know and stop watching everybody else. Yes, it's nice to see what people do from a strategic point of view, to see what your competition is doing, but actually on your everyday, you do what you need to do. I would also say it's really important to really build strong relationships with your customers. My business, my holiday let business, was purely built on strong relationships, because when we started out, I didn't have all these like fancy booking systems and years of established customer bases and big marketing budgets like the main competitors did. But what I did have was a bunch of owners that I spoke to all the time. I got to know them. I got to know my guests. I let people come into my office and talk to us and get to know us. And that was like a huge foundation for growing our business. So my competition used to come in and try and steal customers. They didn't move because they knew us and we had a relationship. So that to me was like, oh my God, that's absolute key. So be connecting with all your customers, and even just and your local businesses around you. I got to know my local businesses as well. Which probably goes on to a third tip actually, is always look for things that you can enhance the guest experience with. Because there's so much you can do out there. It's not just about having a clean house and you've got all the things in it needs. Actually enhance that experience, because I think that's what more people are looking for now, because it's so competitive out there. So you need to find something that you can stand out from your competition from. So that was another good way of when you connect and build relationships, say with all your like local businesses, so maybe restaurants and cafes and local activities. Collaborate with them. What can I give a voucher that gives to your guest, it gets money off, but it gets to that business? What things can you do out there that's going to make you stand out a wee bit better from your competition? It doesn't have to be hundreds of pounds spent. It's basic things like collaborate with somebody local, offering them something that nobody else offers, to give that wee bit of a different experience out there.
They are so worthwhile tips when so just to reiterate back on what James just said there, you got to focus on you, focus on what you want to achieve and your individual path of journey now.
Mhm.
Second one is looking at the relations with your clients, looking at the more importantly as well, Jane, is the resources that those clients have around them
Yeah.
and the experience that they're telling you as well, their customer feedback.
Mhm.
And people
Yeah.
forget about their clients are their best clients that refer to somebody else.
Mhm.
And third but not least is the guest experience, how you can enhance it a lot more to actually make you stand out from the crowd. I think they're brilliant. They're perfect for the industry that we're talking about. Thanks for sharing that, Jane.
Cool.
Thank you very much. We've talked about learnings a lot today. Talk about reflection as well. You've talked about resetting and identifying where you are as an individual, but you've also talked a little bit about personal development.
Yeah.
What's been your biggest learnings? Is it a specific, you wrote a book. Is it a specific book that you've read, or what would you share with everybody out there as your biggest learnings?
I think definitely for me has been you're working on your mindset. And I heard it years ago, was my first coach I had, who'd said that business success is 80% mindset and 20% skills and knowledge. And I never looked at it as that. But having worked with a mindset coach as part of my journey, I have realized, oh my gosh, everything about how you think about money, how you think about yourself, and how productive you can be, how you need to sometimes take a break and step back, how you can, how you just in your overall confidence and how you can work with other people. I mean, the whole piece. I mean, it's huge mindset. But for me, it was very much there's a lot about you got to do quite a bit of self-care in there, because if you go down, the ship goes down basically. So you got to look after yourself to keep your business going. That's a big part of it. And yeah, it's all about getting that balance right as well, which is very hard, because as a business owner, we basically wear every hat, don't we? But it's about how you can look after yourself, but then how you can have just taking those sometimes as a step to outsource something, or letting go of some things so that you can focus more on a particular area. And it's sometimes having that mindset piece to be able to allow yourself to do that. So definitely mind piece has been my big thing the last 2 years.
That's so important. People forget about that so much, though,
Yeah.
Jane. It's that, before, I've spoken to many business owners, and the biggest thing that they say to me when I've interviewed them and everything else is they're time poor.
Yeah.
Time is the biggest chance they've got in their hands. But unfortunately, what you've just mentioned there as well is that many business owners don't take time for themselves, the time working on the business, and the time flies by so quick. They haven't had time to look at their own personal development, their own training. Take time out. If you want to take a half a day, take it. It gets your mindset in the right place.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. It helps your business move forward, and you as well, because, a client I worked with last year, her biggest thing was she'd lost her Friday. That was her day, because she just how everything had sort of spiraled with time and managing her own clients. And, when we worked together, she got that time back. She got her Friday back, and then was like, it was that way of, she didn't think of it as our mindset piece and how you think of things and how you can put things in place. So you can take time out for working on your business. Or if you think, I don't want to do a Friday afternoon, you can work your business in a way that you don't have to work a Friday afternoon. And which is hard for people when you own a business to think, how can I just take a Friday off? I'm the business owner, I should be here. And that's what I thought for years. I have to be here because I own the business. So if I'm not here, the world will fall apart. Everything will fall apart if I'm not here. But it leads to burnout, it leads to stress, and it doesn't actually take you any further forward. But so it's about getting that balance right, and how you can manage your business and your time, but also your home life. You got to have a life. It's no fun otherwise, is it?
Well, you're not working. You're working to live. You're working for life for yourself. You're working to get a better sort of life around you. And sometimes, yeah, I agree. You got to put the graft in at the beginning. You've got to do those extra hours. Because at the point when you've put that extra bit of time in, within a few years' time, you've got that time back. You've got it back, but you've put the groundwork in place.
Yeah.
You've got to work at it to get it where you want to be.
Yeah.
Some good points there, Riz. I like the 80-20, so thank you for sharing that.
Really 80-20.
So for your business now then, from coach, consultant, best-selling author, podcast, looking at the holiday let industry and as an expert in that field, what's next around the corner for Jane Mack? What's the next part of your business journey?
So next part is, I'm looking at, currently I work one-to-one with clients. So I'm building on that just to get a real good sense of what people need in the industry and what works for them, how it helps, because I'd like to move it into producing a group program for people. So that's kind of down the line, probably into next year, doing that. I'm starting a new podcast, which is purely on the holiday let industry. So I've currently got one called Fabulous and Female, and this is going to be like Grow Your Holiday Let Business. So I'm working with lots of different suppliers to the industry and different people who are, currently running their holiday lets and running holiday let businesses. and gathering my guests up to put that all out. So that's hopefully coming within the next month. We'll have that out and running. So that's just my focus at the moment, is building it out so I can start putting myself out there in a place. Doing the things that I enjoy. Like, I like doing podcasts. I love doing that, and I like working like in group programs. So I want to offer that as well. So it's finding those bits and working towards those now.
It's exciting times for yourself, and especially with
Yeah.
how putting these together. Again, you're doing things that you enjoy doing, Jane. So
Yeah.
it's great to hear that as well.
Yeah, it's
So
taken me a
with
while to get there. So it has. I think for so long it was always a case of, you need to be everywhere on social media. You have to be, and I was like, well, you don't have to be, and I don't actually enjoy doing all that. So why am I pushing myself into this all the time? And I'm like, actually, let's do the things I do like, but it still puts your business out there. So it's just finding those things and what works for you as well.
you're still going to make a living some
Yeah,
way. You have to make a
exactly.
living somehow. So,
Mhm.
brilliant. So, with everything that's going on in the next few years, with everything that's been happening with your business right now, if
Mhm.
someone's watching and listening to this now that says, right, I need to make a beeline for Jane Mack and I need to make a contact with her, what's the best way to make contact with you, to connect, to start the conversation, and to take it from there? How can we connect with you?
So, two main channels I'm on at the moment are LinkedIn, so at Jane Mack Coaching, and also Instagram, Jane Mack Coaching. Nice and simple. You can get me on there, and you can send a DM if you want to speak to me, or you can find my links to resources and whatever else I've got. Mhm.
And you'll find information in the post when this has been posted out. I know it's going live now on LinkedIn, but I will pop in Jane's profile link in the comment boxes in this post later on as well. And I would highly recommend, if you're looking at the holiday industry, you're looking for that expert, you want some resources, I would highly recommend that you speak with Jane and have a catch up with her and find out, to share the experience from both as well. So Jane, thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you. It's been lovely coming on chatting. Thank you, Lee.
It's just been great actually learning a bit more about you and hearing about your
Um,
journey in the past sort of, as I thought was over 30 years experience, over 10 years experience.
yeah,
So
that's right.
thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. Thank you to everybody who's been watching and listening. Please don't forget, everybody, to subscribe to the channel. There's over 100 videos on the Revitalise Meets YouTube channel with various different business owners and key decision makers sharing expertise and knowledge. And Jane is now one of them in that series. Watch this space very soon, as there'll be another Revitalise Meets coming up in the series over the next few weeks. We'll be tapping into one of our locally or global network and business connections about their expertise and their business knowledge. Thank you very much to everybody who's been watching and listening today, and we look forward to seeing you very, very soon. And for myself and Jane Mack, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week. And as always, keep connecting, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye for now. Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.